Tell me how you first met Stevie Nicks.
When I was a junior in high school up in Northern California, she transferred into my high school as a senior. She did play guitar.
The lights dim. Thousands of people hold their breath. And then that familiar guitar riff fills.
And she and I interacted slightly on a musical level at a couple of social events. And then she moved on and went to college.
The air. For almost 50 years, Fleetwood Mac has been giving us goosebumps with their incredible music. But behind all those beautiful songs and sold-out concerts lies one of the most complicated love stories in rock and roll history. Today, we're diving deep into the relationship between Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. And at 75 years old, Lindsey is finally ready to tell us what really happened. You know, some love stories are simple. Boy meets girl, they fall in love, they live happily ever after. But this isn't one of those stories. This is about two people who created magic together on stage, but couldn't make it work off stage. It's about how sometimes the most beautiful art comes from the most painful experiences. And it's about how love can inspire you and destroy you at the same time. Let me take you back to the beginning, way before Fleetwood Mac became a household name. In the early 1970s, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks were just two young dreamers trying to make it in the music world. They weren't famous yet, they weren't rich, but they had something special. They had each other, and they had music. Lindsey was this incredibly talented guitar player who could make his instrument sing in ways most people had never heard before. He was a perfectionist, the kind of guy who would spend hours in the studio making sure every note was exactly right. Stevie, on the other hand, had this voice that seemed to come from another world. When she sang, it was like she was casting a spell on everyone who listened. Their story really began when they were both in high school. Lindsey was finishing up his senior year when he joined his first real band. After graduation, he and his friends decided to go to the same college that Stevie was attending. It wasn't long before someone in the band suggested they ask Stevie to join them. That band was called Fritz, and looking back now, it was the first step in a journey that would change rock music forever. But here's what's interesting. During their time in Fritz, Lindsey and Stevie weren't actually dating. They were just friends who happened to make incredible music together. They played clubs around the San Francisco Bay Area, did high school dances, and even got to open for some bigger acts like Janis Joplin. People started to notice them, but more importantly, people started to notice that there was something special about the combination of Lindsey's guitar skills and Stevie's magical voice. When Fritz eventually broke up, Lindsey and Stevie looked at each other and wondered what came next. That's when they decided to try something new. They would become a duo. And that's also when their romantic relationship began. They called themselves Buckingham Nicks. And in 1973, they released an album together. The album didn't sell very well, but it showcased something unique. Stevie's dreamy, otherworldly voice paired perfectly with Lindsey's intricate guitar work. You could hear the chemistry between them, not just as musicians, but as two people who were deeply in love. For about a year, they worked together in Northern California, writing songs and falling deeper in love. Lindsey admits that he had never written a song before this period, but being with Stevie inspired him to start creating. Love has a way of bringing out talents we didn't even know we had, doesn't it? Then came 1975, and everything changed. Fleetwood Mac was going through a rough patch. They were a British blues band that had lost some key members and were struggling to find their sound. Mick Fleetwood, the drummer and one of the founding members, happened to hear the Buckingham Nicks album, and he knew he had found something special. When Mick approached Lindsey about joining Fleetwood Mac, Lindsey made it very clear that it was a package deal. If they wanted him, they had to take Stevie too. Looking back, this might have been one of the most important decisions in rock history. Mick agreed, and just like that, Fleetwood Mac went from being a struggling blues band to having two of the most talented musicians of their generation. The transformation was immediate and dramatic. Their first album together, simply called Fleetwood Mac, came out in 1975 and was a huge success. It had hit songs that showed off both of their talents, Stevie's enchanting Rhiannon and Lindsey's upbeat Monday Morning. The album shot the band to fame and created the unique sound that would define Fleetwood Mac for decades to come. But success in music doesn't always mean success in love. As Fleetwood Mac was climbing the charts, Lindsey and Stevie's personal relationship was starting to fall apart. The pressure of fame, creative differences, and the constant spotlight began to take their toll. By the time the band started working on their next album, Lindsey and Stevie had broken up, creating a tension in the group that you could cut with a knife. Now, most couples who break up try to avoid each other, right? They need time and space to heal. But Lindsey and Stevie didn't have that luxury. They were in a band together, which meant they had to see each other every day, work together, and pretend everything was fine. Imagine having to work closely with your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend every single day while your heart is still broken. That's exactly what they had to do. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Sometimes the most beautiful art comes from the deepest pain, and that's exactly what happened with Fleetwood Mac. The album they created during this incredibly difficult time was called Rumours, and it became one of the best-selling albums of all time. It stayed at #1 on the Billboard charts for 31 weeks and has sold over 40 million copies worldwide. Think about that for a moment. The very thing that was tearing them apart personally was creating something that would touch millions of people around the world. The songs on Rumours were like musical diary entries about their relationship. Lindsey poured his frustration and heartbreak into Go Your Own Way, a song that was basically him telling Stevie how he felt about their breakup. It was raw, it was honest, and it was painful. Meanwhile, Stevie responded with Dreams, a song that looked toward the future, while acknowledging what they had lost. She had this incredible ability to turn pain into something beautiful and hopeful. When you listen to these songs today, you can still feel the emotion behind them. That's the power of real art. It captures genuine human feelings and makes them universal. The recording process for Rumours was both magical and torturous. Lindsey has described it as having to put all their pain into their work. While this made the album special and emotionally powerful, it was draining for everyone involved. The band members were like characters in a soap opera, with their personal dramas playing out in front of the whole world. As Fleetwood Mac became more successful in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the tensions between Lindsey and Stevie actually got worse instead of better. Even though they maintained a professional relationship, their different approaches to music created constant friction. Lindsey was known for being a perfectionist who focused on every tiny detail. He would spend countless hours in the studio, crafting intricate arrangements and experimenting with new recording techniques. He was always looking for innovative sounds and fresh approaches to their music. Stevie, on the other hand, had a more free-spirited and emotional approach to music. She was all about the feeling and the atmosphere that music could create. She wrote songs that felt magical and dreamlike, often drawing inspiration from her actual dreams, poetry, and personal experiences. Her writing style was more intuitive and natural. These different styles brought both excitement and tension to their work. Mick Fleetwood once described their creative relationship perfectly when he said that Lindsey was brilliant but very demanding, while Stevie brought a special mystical quality that balanced everything out. Together, they created something amazing, but it often came at a personal cost. The conflicts reached a breaking point while they were recording their album Tusk in 1979. Lindsey wanted to experiment with new sounds and push boundaries, while Stevie preferred to stick with more traditional, melody-focused songwriting. The album received great reviews from critics, but it didn't sell as well as Rumours, and the band members realized that their creative differences had played a role in this. By the mid-1980s, Lindsey and Stevie were having more and more problems working together. Their creative differences were made worse by personal grudges that had been building up for years. The situation became so stressful that it started affecting not just their music, but how the entire band functioned. Things came to a head during a band meeting in the late 1980s, right after Lindsey announced he was leaving Fleetwood Mac. The argument got so heated that it actually became physical. Stevie later talked about this incident in interviews, describing how angry and frustrated she felt. The situation had become so toxic that she felt like she wanted to hit him, and she had to be physically held back. Lindsey left Fleetwood Mac in 1987, marking the end of an era for the band. While the official story focused on his desire to pursue solo projects, both he and Stevie later admitted that their difficult relationship was a major factor in his decision to leave. In honest interviews, Lindsey shared that none of them could handle the tension anymore. It was either leave or watch everything fall apart completely. But the story doesn't end there. Over the years, Lindsey would rejoin Fleetwood Mac several times, bringing back both the creative magic and the personal tensions with Stevie. Each reunion gave fans hope that maybe they had finally worked out their differences, but the same old problems always seemed to resurface. Their 2003 reunion tour was particularly special because it seemed like they were getting along better during that period. Fans were thrilled to see the original lineup back together, and for a while, it looked like some of their past issues had been resolved. But the peace didn't last long, and by the end of the tour, the old tensions were starting to show again. The drama reached its peak in 2018 when Lindsey was fired from Fleetwood Mac, just as the band announced their upcoming major tour. The decision shocked fans and the music industry because it seemed to come out of nowhere. While the band said it was a group decision, Lindsey believed that Stevie was the main force behind his dismissal. After being fired, Lindsey spoke openly about his feelings of hurt and betrayal in interviews. He felt that Stevie had given the band an ultimatum: choose between him and her, and they had chosen to go on without him. The betrayal hurt especially deeply because it wasn't just professional, it felt deeply personal, ending any hope of reconciliation. For Lindsey, being fired was more than just losing a job. It represented the end of a relationship that had shaped most of his adult life. The man who had insisted that Stevie be included when he first joined Fleetwood Mac was now being excluded because she requested it. The irony wasn't lost on him or on the fans who had followed their story for decades. Now, at 75 years old, Lindsey Buckingham has gained the kind of perspective that only comes with age and experience. In recent interviews, he's been more reflective about his complicated relationship with Stevie Nicks, showing both wisdom and the lasting impact of their turbulent history. Lindsey has become more thoughtful about their relationship, acknowledging both its creative brilliance and its emotional cost. He talks about their connection as something that transformed both of them, saying that what he and Stevie had was special and helped them create something lasting that will probably outlast them both. This acknowledgement represents a significant shift from his earlier, more bitter feelings. Time seems to have softened some of his anger, allowing him to appreciate the incredible music that came from their partnership. He's admitted that Stevie brought something irreplaceable to Fleetwood Mac, a mystery and magic that, even though it wasn't always easy to work with, he now realizes was truly special. But Lindsey still carries the pain from their conflicts. He remains hurt and upset when discussing being fired from the band in 2018. He describes it as more than just a professional betrayal, saying it damaged something inside him that he doesn't believe can ever be completely healed. Despite these ongoing wounds, Lindsey has tried to make peace with the past. He says that time and distance have eased some of the anger he used to feel, though he acknowledges that some issues remain unresolved. Letting go of certain things is difficult, he admits. But now it's more about being grateful than holding on to resentment. Lindsey's recent reflections reveal the complexity of his relationship with Stevie Nicks. He describes her as both a crucial part of his artistic journey and a source of deep emotional pain. This contradiction captures the essence of their partnership. It was simultaneously the best and worst thing that could have happened to both of them. He explains that Stevie and he connected in a unique way in each other's lives, and while it hasn't all been positive, it's been deeply meaningful. This shows how intertwined their lives became, both professionally and personally. They shared crucial years together, experienced tremendous success, and went through devastating heartbreak. These experiences create bonds that can never be completely broken, no matter how much pain they might cause. The guitarist has also acknowledged that their relationship was affected by forces beyond their control. The pressure of fame, constant public scrutiny, and the demands of the music industry all put strain on their partnership. They cared for each other, he admits. But sometimes they struggled to handle that love while dealing with all the fame and attention around them. This acknowledgement shows a mature understanding of how external factors can impact personal relationships. When they were younger, they might not have had the tools or experience to deal with the unique challenges that came with their level of success. Looking back, Lindsey recognizes that these pressures played a significant role in their problems, even if they couldn't manage them at the time. Despite all the personal conflicts and professional disagreements, Lindsey remains proud of the music he created with Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac. Their collaboration produced some of the most memorable and emotionally resonant songs in rock history, songs that continue to connect with new generations of listeners decades after they were first recorded. The power of their music lies in its authenticity. The songs on albums like Rumours weren't manufactured for commercial success. They were genuine emotions expressed by real people going through real pain and joy. This authenticity is what has made their music timeless and continues to attract new fans many years after it was originally created. Lindsey has said that their music was bigger than either of them individually. This perspective allows him to separate the art from the personal issues that created it. While their relationship was often difficult and painful, the creative output was extraordinary. Songs like Go Your Own Way, Dreams, and Don't Stop have become part of our cultural fabric, soundtracking countless lives and relationships. The lasting impact of their collaboration might be their greatest achievement. Despite all the struggles and conflicts, they created something that has endured beyond their personal troubles. Their music continues to inspire fans and fellow musicians alike, proving that often the most powerful art emerges from the most challenging circumstances. As Lindsey continues to make music and perform on his own, it's clear that his experiences with Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks continue to influence him profoundly. However, his feelings about these experiences have evolved significantly. Where there once was bitterness and anger, there's now a mixture of gratitude, melancholy, and acceptance. It's bittersweet, he says. He's not sure if they'll ever work together again, but the music they created, those songs, will always be meaningful to him. This statement reflects his current perspective on their shared past, recognizing that while the personal relationship may be irreparably damaged, the artistic legacy remains valuable and significant. It seems unlikely that Lindsey and Stevie will reconcile, especially given the events of recent years. However, even though their personal relationship has ended, they both continue to perform the songs they created together, keeping their musical partnership alive in some form. Perhaps this is the most appropriate resolution. Their music continues to bring joy to millions of people, even if they can't find happiness together anymore. For Lindsey, reaching this point of acceptance has been a long journey. His feelings about Stevie and Fleetwood Mac, once dominated by anger and hurt, have mellowed with time and reflection. While he may never fully recover from some of the wounds caused by their turbulent relationship, he has learned to value what they accomplished together. The story of Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks represents one of the most fascinating and complicated relationships in music history. Their journey has everything: love, betrayal, creativity, personal destruction, and ultimately, redemption through art. This story has captivated fans for nearly 5 decades and continues to resonate with people today. At 75, Lindsey's reflections on this relationship show a man who has learned from his experiences, even when those experiences were painful. His recent interviews reveal someone who can see both the beauty and the tragedy of his partnership with Stevie Nicks, understanding that both elements were necessary for creating their extraordinary music. The impact of their collaboration extends far beyond the Our personal relationship. Fleetwood Mac's music, especially the songs created during the most difficult periods of their partnership, has become a soundtrack for multiple generations. Their ability to transform personal struggles into universally relatable art is perhaps their greatest gift to the world. Their story serves as a reminder of the complex relationship between art and life. Some of the most powerful creative works emerge from difficult personal circumstances. The very struggles and emotions that made their relationship challenging also fueled the raw passion that made their music so compelling and enduring. As Lindsey reflects on his life and career, his relationship with Stevie Nicks remains central to his story. It was the source of his greatest professional triumphs and his most painful personal struggles. He has come to accept this duality, understanding that both the joy and the pain were essential parts of his journey. The legacy of Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks will endure regardless of their personal conflicts. Their music continues to inspire new artists and reach new audiences, proving that great art can transcend the circumstances of its creation. While their personal relationship may never be repaired, what they created together will live on forever, a body of work that will continue to move and inspire people for generations to come. In the end, perhaps that's what truly matters. The love, the heartbreak, the creativity, and the conflict have all combined to create something greater than what either of them could have achieved alone. Their complicated relationship gave us some of the most beloved music ever recorded, and for that, we can all be grateful, even if it was sometimes too painful for those who lived it. So there you have it. The real story behind one of rock music's most legendary partnerships. It's a story about how love can inspire incredible art, how success can complicate relationships, and how sometimes the most beautiful things come from the most painful experiences. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks may never perform together again, but their music will continue to touch hearts and inspire dreams for generations to come. If this story touched your heart like it touched mine, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who loves great music and incredible stories. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another fascinating story from the world of music. What do you think about Lindsey and Stevie's relationship? Do you think they'll ever reconcile? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing your thoughts. Until next time, keep the music playing and remember that sometimes our greatest challenges lead to our most beautiful creations.